Star Trek, The Nerdy Frontier. These are the discussions of the Good Times Society. Their continuing mission to explore each episode, to seek out new topics and ridiculous observations, to boldly watch what they've already watched before.
Xander, if you were trapped in a room with a laser drill that was firing at you pretty much at about, I would say, 2 beams a second, and you got 4 words to say to someone who is asking what's happening in the room,
yeah,
what would you say with those 4 words? Data, for hint, said too much to explain.
Right. No time kicking ass. That's what I would say.
Becca?
Kicking ass. Oh, man. I mean, Xander already perfected it. I did think about this as I was watching the episode about, like, is that the right thing to say in that situation? I think it would be, come quick.
Yeah. Drill angry, help me.
Get me out.
Because, that course of action would draw them to the danger, and he was under the impression he could handle it and keep the squishy meat bags away from the danger.
And boy, did he handle it.
You call them meat bags? I call them bags of mostly water.
Right. Yeah, it's your perspective.
If we were 90% meat, that'd be a pretty gross species to be.
Ew.
Well, I think we do encounter that in Star Trek. I'll just leave that to the audience to figure out what I'm talking about.
Wait a minute.
Let's talk about what we're talking about, which is Homesoil, episode 17 of the first season. When the Enterprise visits an outpost in the process of terraforming a dead planet, they find the science team threatened by a mysterious new life form.
It's a life form?
Well,
A
it's
life
debatable
form?
for a time.
Wait, doesn't a life form have to be organic material?
Oh my god. So I know we're going to go into like the outline of things, but when Geordi said that, how could it be alive? It's inorganic. Right in front of Data. And I was like, what are you doing? They're your friends.
Dick move, Geordi.
So as an android, does he have organic things about him at all? Because he has like this weird exterior that is like skin/hair. Is that all artificial as well?
Jake, who knows
Xander,
at this point?
Xander, you so quickly answer my questions, and this is the first time you've been exhausted by it. You're just like, Jake, what do you think? I don't think about Star Trek.
No.
What? Come on, Jake.
Yeah.
I don't think about what an android's made out of, as if that's a crazy thing to ask you.
Right. I think multiple times there have been scans where Data has been alone in an area and registered as not a life form. And so I think that is sort of what we're supposed to take from it, is that Data doesn't register on scans as a life form. Therefore, when Geordi is scanning these, that's, I think, a little more of a slap in the face.
I think his skin is fully artificial because it doesn't wound like human skin.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. He also doesn't replicate, right?
They're artificially organic. Right.
Well, so this episode opens with really just a mystery, which is that the colony doesn't answer on the first call. And then when they do pick up, which I don't know if we ever really explained why they were delaying their answer, it turns out that Troy's got a bad feeling about what's going on down there. Everybody's nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Director Mandel is full of lies. But then the away team beams down, and we meet Louisa Kim, who I'm obsessed with.
She's a great character.
She's a great character. She looks so bomb in the outfit that they all wear, but it really works for her. It's this gray jumpsuit with an asymmetrical lapel, cinched waist, thick belt, big boots. I want this outfit really bad. And she calls herself a gardener of Eden.
Yes.
Yeah, that's her title.
Yeah.
This is definitely, when you're on a terraforming mission, I think after about 6 months, you're like, you know what, you can call yourself whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's most startups.
Well, terraformers are obsessive. Everyone knows that, right? I mean, it's well established. Yes.
I mean, I know I am in Animal Crossing, and the first thing I wrote down was terraforming. Is this an Animal Crossing crossover episode? It was not.
No.
I mean, terraforming is the ultimate startup business when you think about it.
It's true.
It's a good comparison.
You get godlike.
Wow, you're taking that word too literally.
But yeah, I think that this is a sort of insight into how humanity sort of is spread out in the galaxy. And they even bring up a term that we've brought up before, which is Class M, transforming a planet from a different type of class into a Class M habitable life. or planet.
Funny that you mention that, and it may take me a second to find it, but I'm going to need to tell you what my sister told me, because she listens to the show, and she has critiques when we're not thorough enough.
Oh gosh. Okay, here we go. Is it the parameters of a Class M planet?
It is what M stands for.
Oh.
Hold on.
I don't know.
In episode 8, one of their favorite episodes, our episode 8.
Oh, okay.
Yes, she's giving me notes on our episodes.
Gotcha.
Yes. In episode 7, we mentioned Class M, and Lisa, my sister, and Greg, what up? They explain what a Class M planet is in a throwaway line in Enterprise. It's actually originally Vulcan, not human, and it stands for Menshara class, meaning most suited for humanoid life.
Wow.
So you know who the true Trekker of the family is.
Yeah, I got goosebumps. That's some great information. I love that. And it makes sense. Because we learned how to chart the stars from the Vulcans. So it would make sense that our rating system would have the same sort of thing.
I'm so happy that gave you goosebumps.
Yeah.
Well, we learn a little bit about terraforming because apparently the Starship crew doesn't really know much about it, nor have they ever really seen it up close. So we get a tour from Louisa Kim and her awesome outfit. But still, something's going on down here because Mallinson, is that his name?
Yes.
He gets told to go handle some task, and then we hear some terrifying screams from behind a locked door. That was pretty brutal sounding of a death.
This is one of the most brutal scenes we've seen so far. There's an actual death. We don't see him dead at first. He goes up to the starship, and Crusher tries to save him, and he doesn't make it.
No, and they try to save him, but that little sequence was great when the director was just like, it's jammed, and he's just mashing buttons. It's jammed because you're jamming it.
I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
Right? Come on. That's classic old man with tech. Just to go back to Louisa Kim, I have to just shout out this monologue one more time about terraforming. It's so passionate and so beautiful. She explains everything they're doing to all the different elements of how they're going to create life and create a whole biome on this planet. Little do they know, there's some things they're overlooking. And then they have to solve a murder.
Well, I think that was just to hit home the point how important this mission is and how important it is to these people, because we haven't really said, terraforming whatever. You can just find a planet and start doing it, but they're establishing, no, this takes a long time, lots of bureaucracy. We need to test everything. We need to get a plan in place. We need to find people who are willing to do it, and then we need to launch the mission, get the fun, you know what I mean? So that the stakes are higher. So when the problem comes up, they can't just go, well, let's just pack up and leave. Oh, well, we'll find another planet.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense why Mandel is clinging and denying to the fact when he does find out there's something weird with this planet. It's trying to send us messages, which means there's something intelligent here.
Yeah. I love this sort of hiding behind the bureaucracy, especially because he seemed to be the only one that really understood the implications of what these patterns and things were meaning, and he kept it to himself behind, oh, well, a ton of people checked this. It should be fine, right? If a ton of people did, it's not my fault for not noticing.
And Mr. Mullet had some hints, but he didn't share them with the class.
Right.
Bjorn Benson was his name. As a matter
thank
of fact.
you.
I wrote that down because of his mullet, purely. I was like, I need to remember this man's name because that mullet is I don't know, what is this, 1988, 87? It feels like the quintessential mullet of 1988.
Isn't Bjorn Benson a member of ABBA? Right?
I hope so. Now, this is about the time that we get into Data's moves with the laser, because shortly after Mendelssohn dies, Mendelssohn was a scientist.
Right.
also a scientist. Mallinson dies, then Data is in there checking out this laser, the laser ray that was destroying things, and we find out later sucking up a thin layer of saline water from the planet, and that's when the laser starts attacking Data.
Right.
Who got moves.
He's quick.
Dodge,
He's so quick.
Dodge, right.
He critted on his dex check, his dex save.
Oh man, totally critted. It's incredible. I love this scene. I love the times when we get to see Data's physical prowess, because Brett Spiner is so precise in his movement when he gets the opportunity to be, that it's really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. And also, they had I can't remember if they did speed it up too much, but sometimes they play around with either speeding up or slowing some things down. But you can tell that he really wants to physically do it and do it fast, so he's trying his best.
Yeah, I remember rearranging the chips, episode 3 or 4 or
something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely sped up, and it actually, I thought, looked pretty good from what I remember it looking like not as great.
Right.
Now, we also get the line, "It seems we are becoming detectives, number one," that Picard says, but really he needed to say it to Data, so Data puts on his Sherlock hat.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. Wished it happened.
Well, Data did the most sleuthing. He kind of, I'm not sure exactly how he figured it out. He kind of never described, but he's just like, or he never like really described exactly how he knew, but he just said, this laser is malfunctioning. It's operating like it has a will.
I'm not going to lie, in the fear of doing this podcast that you guys are going to ask me questions about some of this technobabble, I legit stopped paying attention for maybe the first part of the episode completely of like, oh yeah, the drill thing. Yeah. And then I was like, wait, I don't know why any of this is happening or if it was established why.
The thing is, it's actually not. It's kind of it's just a mystery. They don't really say what's going on.
Phew, I'm off
they
the
just know
hook.
the drill malfunctioned. And these things start to become aware. What I'm not really unclear
here's why he knew it had a will was because it was following him in a way that was not what they would have programmed that laser to do, telling him that someone or something that has a will was controlling it and trying to kill him.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
Becca got the technobabble answers.
The drill don't have the will.
Oh, that's what that silence was.
You got a drill, you got the will.
It's a warning sign on all engineering stations. If the drill has a will, get out.
Get out.
Yeah. Just got a poster with a cat hanging that says that. Why is the cat hanging?
And he's cut in half with a laser. Data was being real theatrical with his conquest of that drill, too, because he didn't answer, and then when the smoke cleared, he just kind of strutted out. I liked that move.
I think Data's getting more and more theatrical in all of it. Like, altogether, he's picking up on, I don't know where he's getting it. Riker? Is this Riker's fault? It's
gotta be Riker. So much sass.
Or he's hanging out with Geordi. Maybe Geordi's doing it.
Didn't he bring... I believe Geordi comes down to examine the dead laser with him now because of his vision. Because Data's like, hold on, I need some super eyes on this. And Geordi sees the first glimpse of this inorganic life we've mentioned, where he sees that the color and the light and the flashes have a sort of musicality to them. Mm-hmm. Interesting way of putting it.
Which we never really expanded on, as I recall, right?
Because nobody knows Morse code anymore. Kids these days.
And Geordi gets obsessed. He just is watching this thing. He's just like, oh my God, you guys... You're missing out on the laser light show because I get it in different dimensions you're not processing.
Yeah, he gets a different concert every time.
Right.
He's also putting off ultraviolet, ultra red, something.
Yeah. We're also seeing this, besides the friendship between Geordi and Data, we're seeing Geordi come into his engineering side, which will be important for his character later. But he gets, like you said, excited about these discoveries and this tech and things. So I think it's important that we get his perspective.
When they look down into the tunnels super deep into that hole in the planet's core, when they see the flashing light, I'm like, oh, I'm interested to see what this life form is. And then they take it to the medical lab, and it's one Christmas light.
One Christmas light! I know.
I was like, what? That's it?
When they started, spoilers, they start replicating, and I was like, this is how you defeat it. Just unscrew one of them. It takes out the whole thing.
Ah, genius. That's how you do it. Easy.
And then eventually, a la Pokemon, the Christmas lights evolve into a Spencer's Gift Tchotchke crystal thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Where did the budget go for this? I understand
to
that
Spencer's
they were...
Gift.
Yeah. I love it. I love it so much.
It's a salt lick light.
When it's in observation in the lab and Geordi's there hanging out, they start to realize that different things are happening when it's being observed by the monitor that's enhancing the vision, like magnifying, and when they get closer. And the doctor's like, step further away, turn off magnification. Oh my God, it's doing something different, which I thought was really, really interesting in a quantum mechanics sense, because have you guys heard of the double slit experiment?
No. Is it like a Schrodinger's box type?
Yeah, it's in that realm of quantum mechanics, which I really enjoyed. The show Devs on Hulu, which just came out, that deals a lot with quantum mechanics.
Sponsored.
But yeah, the double slit experiment, I was going to look it up so I could describe it better, but I'm just going to go off recollection. We'll see how I do. So basically on a quantum level, if you shoot a particle through two slits, it will go through either one of them.
Yes.
Like theoretically.
Right.
And it can only be in one place at one time.
Yes.
But when it's not observed, it goes through both of them. It's the Schrodinger's cat thing. Like, anything is possible, therefore both are happening until it's being observed. And if there's a camera or if there are human eyes watching this particle being shot through the slit, then it just goes in one place. So it, like, if you imagine a water wave splashing through these two slits, it'll go everywhere. But if it's like a hard, like a little
laser.
spitball or something, a laser, it could only go through one. So that's what. It's unrelated, but it kind of made me think, like, it behaves differently when it's being observed.
Yes, and
very related.
To take that even further, when it is observed, when we create the slit or the situation of it being observed, you could take it that we're creating another dimension of possibility. Because when we create this divergence of two possibilities, like clear cut, either this laser goes in one direction or the other, at one point, both of the possibilities exist, and this reality is the one where it went right, and this is the one where it went left. So
okay, you got to watch Devs.
Yeah.
And determinism.
Yeah.
Additionally, we've also crammed 5 actors onto the medical lab set, and so any semblance of blocking that we can do involves turning around to look at the monitor, turning around to look at the thing again,
right,
backing up, turning around to look at the monitor, and turning around to look at the thing again.
It must be said that on this Zoom call, Jake has replaced his background with this scene, and I guess you are now the life form.
I am the life form.
Right. They're so
ugly
concerned.
Bags of mostly water.
No,
not wrong.
Don't you? Hey, wait. That suits me. Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
You guys are beautiful bags of ugly. No, wait. I almost said beautiful bags of ugly water.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll take it.
And the first time, we're also giant.
Right. Right. In comparison.
So around this scene is where you hear the computer saying, trying to access translator. And it's like, oh my God, they're trying to talk to us. Run and quarantine the lab.
Yeah.
I liked that moment. That was a little creepy because there was even a little bit of gibberish in there. And they're like, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out.
Yes. Well,
just go, just run.
Again, Crusher acting like an actual Starfleet officer of like, I don't know what's happening. The stuff is malfunctioning. Get out. And Picard's like, ooh, let's watch what's going. You know what I mean? But yeah, and the other thing is the computer, I thought, was very interesting in this whole episode in that it was almost another character that was adding this voice. Before this, there was a theory that the computer did, and it said like computer theorizes life. And then later on, Worf is doing a thing, and then the computer sort of speaks back in a way to it. He's talking to the other officers.
Not
and he's like,
you.
I didn't ask you, but the computer's continuously adding in an input as a character, a physical or organic based character. So I thought that was such an interesting choice.
I was so fascinated by the way they made the computer theorize the source, where they all had theorized that anyway. Like, they had made those theories out loud, and then they're like, okay, computer, now you say it. Okay, that's probably true now.
Yeah.
The computer did a lot. Even Data was like, hold on, scan for organic compounds. And Data was like, hold on, scan again. Still the same answer. Okay, got it.
Okay, cool.
Data's contribution.
Yeah.
We find out that this thing has some life. We can get the confession out that they might have kind of maybe known that, especially the director, who is clearly an obsessive, which I think Xander's mentioned is part of their profile, as Deanna Troi also mentioned.
Everybody knows. It's common knowledge. Like, it's when you get into the classes in school, they're like, we know you're obsessive. It's
the terraformers be freaks, yo.
It's the thing.
Again, Animal Crossing reference.
In the cafeteria, no one sits with the terraformers.
Right.
They're over there, like, rehauling the table.
Either you're decorating the inside of your house or you're building waterfalls.
Yeah.
Great. Things escalate pretty quickly, though, because the thing starts replicating, right?
Yes, it starts replicating and evolving and taking over parts of the computer systems. This leads me to a point where I had to just pause and say out loud, hold on a second. The programmers got their own restroom that they're locked in? Not only do we not really talk...
I want to be a programmer.
Right. We don't really talk about bathrooms on Star Trek a whole lot. The sonic showers maybe every once in a while. But they listed the places that are getting, like, locked down or, people are confined in. And one of them they said was the programmer's restroom that people are locked in.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
That makes a lot of sense. I didn't think too much about it. But it was also the turbo lift to engineering,
Yes.
I think.
Yep. That was the other...
Didn't even write that down. See? It lasts more than 2 seconds.
This is a really great detail that the writers probably put in there, Xander, is they recognized that the programmers would be the best person to counter-hack the life form, so they waited until they were taking a shit to lock everything down.
And if you've
Together?
ever met programmers, you know that they are constantly on the toilet, whether they're shitting or not.
They
That's
share a
just where they
digestive
think.
cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they share ideas by yelling through the stall wall.
The life form finally talks to us, and it insults us, and it says, you know what, you didn't listen to me when I said I needed you to stop. What he needed?
Oh, I
what
wrote
was
some
it?
stuff down.
Yeah.
I had to turn on subtitles here. And our little life form's first words were ugly.
Ugly. You ugly.
Ugly. Giant bags of mostly water.
There it is. That's pretty accurate if you were to describe a human.
Did Data say we're 90% water? Is that true? 90% seems like a lot.
I think so.
I think we're like 60.
70? I don't know. Who knows? It's
How much
90s
No,
science.
70 is
Water
Earth.
are we?
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right.
60.
Yeah, 60. According to the USGS.
I don't know. I'm a gamer, not a doctor, Jake.
If this was how much dilithium is in a warp core, you'd have an answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now that they're replicating, there was a really great line. I think that Picard filled in this blank. It was like, one thing we know about computers, more is stronger. It's like, oh yeah, that classic,
That principle of computer science.
Right.
More
is
stronger.
stronger.
And actually, they returned the insult back to this thing by labeling it a microbrain, which wasn't that the insult Q gave Worf in
Yes.
episode 2 or something?
I wrote that down too.
Yeah.
No, he called him a big head.
Yeah, the big
A
head.
macro head,
but
Macro
micro
microbrain.
brain.
I wrote down the exact same thing. That's so weird because we're both wrong.
But that sort of insult style, I guess, is really in the writer's room at this point.
I liked how everybody had their different way of talking on the bridge, which typically just Picard gets to talk on the bridge to
Right.
whatever they're talking to, but because it was inside the ship and this thing so Troy is kind of like, hey, we think you're beautiful. We didn't know. And they're like, shut up. You knew. The bags in the dome knew, meaning the terraformers, caused much death, made us kill. War is now with you, meaning all of humanity. It's pretty crazy.
Also, I believe it's at this point that Geordi gets this, like, super close-up. Like, it's not a close-up, it's like up the nostrils close-up. Pores are seen. I'm like, what is this shot and why?
This happened a couple times. I think it also happened in the last episode too, during when the kids were getting abducted. Or like, there's tends to be a few montage shots of everybody really close as they're reacting.
Right.
I don't know what this is, but it's only
Maybe
in it
it's a
for like
soap
one
tape type
scene,
of
and then
thing?
it just disappears. I think they're just trying new things. I think we'll notice in different seasons where cameras are, especially since we're more film minded in this little club of ours. But like,
They were foreseeing in the future when we're watching everything on YouTube and it's way smaller, so the Y doesn't play as well.
That's not far off because they were broadcasting it in a smaller file size than what we're watching now too.
yeah, for sure. Our TVs are way bigger than they were then.
And clearer. Back then, a director probably had to get that close to show emotions. Plus, with something like Geordi, you're dealing with a character that also doesn't have an eye line to emote. So maybe you did have to get that close to,
That's something we haven't talked about yet because so much of acting is done with the eyes.
Yeah.
So the fact that we identify so much with him as a character.
LeVar Burton is a genius.
LeVar is a genius. That mouth acting,
Mouth
You gotta
acting.
just a subtle lift of the corner of the mouth has
eyebrows?
to tell you everything. The eyebrows have to tell you everything. Although eyebrows can be very expressive.
We're both doing it on the podcast.
Yeah, for patrons only.
Speaking of sight, whenever the life form actually like brightened itself to a very high level of luminosity, even on the main screen on the bridge, people were like trying to like not be blinded. It's like, just turn down the brightness on your own monitor.
They didn't have that control at that time.
Yeah, that hasn't been invented yet.
No, they lost the universal remote like months ago, and they just can't be bothered. It's in the cushions of
Someone
the
lost
captain's
it deep
chair.
in a holodeck program.
Yeah.
It's not on the keyboard. It's like in the settings. You gotta go digging for it. It would take too long.
Right.
But Crusher, once again, shows what a goddamn genius she is. Always saving the day. And she says, because there's this lull, like they're not taking control of the ship so much, and she's like, hold on, cell division is preceded by a resting state, meaning they're about to make more of them.
Yes.
And this is calm before the storm.
Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase.
What? That's very impressive. How do you remember that?
8th grade science. Yeah.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Ooh, do you got that? King Philip jumped up something about soup.
Don't even need it.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
But it's interesting that she applied an organic sort of cycle to an established non-organic life form. But whatever, it's fine.
Right.
We made it work. At this point, science is magic.
Hey, it's what she knows.
Yeah.
Science is
That's
magic.
true. Science is magic is something we'll revisit more than a few times, right?
Yeah.
And we already have.
The microbrain determines us too primitive and too arrogant.
Where's the lie?
They're not wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we exactly demonstrated that, but I guess maybe we came to its planet and we just started terraforming without asking. I think that's kind of what it's saying.
Right. Big stompy giants coming and smashing around on our planet and like, oh, sorry, didn't see you there on your thin layer of saline, breathable atmosphere you were chilling in. It's like, well, pay more attention, you heathen.
Stompy, ugly water bags.
At this point, there can be a comparison to Q and the relationship between Q and Starfleet versus this life form.
Not noticing the nuance and the detail of a life form that may know more than you in certain ways.
That's like a theory or like a research statement.
That's what Picard should do next time Q visits. It says he's too arrogant and too primitive and come back in 3 centuries.
And to call him an ugly bat of mostly light. I don't know what Q are made of.
Yeah. Speaking of mostly light,
this
is when we figure out the mystery. They're getting bigger. That means they must be feeding on something. What are they feeding on?
Dun, dun,
Photosynthesis. They like the
is.
sunshine. Or artificial light in this case.
Yeah.
So they turn off the lights, and that's how they get them in
That's how they get them.
The headlock.
Kill the lights.
Christmas light headlock. And Picard's like, we don't want to hurt you. Are you going to do what we want?
Wouldn't
Say
you like some
uncle.
nice, warm, wet sand?
Yeah.
Right. I wrote down, I want to go home to my wet sand.
So do I.
Yeah.
I could use wet sand vacation.
I think this is sort of the same allegory that we got in the last episode of people that are watching sci-fi shows that have been watching for a long time. It's that monster of the week mentality of like, this is the bad aliens. They're not like the good aliens that are on our ship. This is a discovery that they're doing this bad thing. And it's always turning it on its head of like, maybe they don't understand what they're doing, or maybe the scale is different here. And I think this does a really good job of, it's sort of that old sci-fi tale of like a petri dish of bacteria that grows into a civilization, and now you're in charge of this.
You mean in The Simpsons?
It's with The Simpsons, like Rick and Morty did a thing, but it's like an experiment of like, it's with terraforming too. You become a god, so now what do you do? You're responsible in a sense for the future of this thing. As far as this light form has been reproducing in the lab, that's its whole world. And it's totally unfair how the Federation has treated it.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up this episode, I just, Riker didn't have much of a chance to get horny this episode, as he likes to do on Maine.
All the time.
But he got a little horny on the side quest because He goes to see the crystal after this resolves, after it's about to be transported back, and it's just him in the lab, and he walks in. Oh, because he was the one turning down the lights manually from just outside the door.
He was setting the mood.
He was setting the mood, and as he walks in, there's this door frame, and he just brushes his fingertips lightly on the door frame, not breaking eye contact with the crystal as he approaches it. And it is the most seductive thing you could do to an inorganic crystal. He was totally seeing if there was a possibility for some, it's Riker.
Riker's so used to turning down the lights and then getting turned on that he didn't know how else
He didn't know what to do. It's so funny. It was really there, I swear.
No, that's the thing. And I think this is a solid argument for Riker's pansexuality of like Riker does not care about gender or species or anything. If it can be fucked, Riker is down.
In fact, he does care in that he's trying to hook up with every species.
Right?
He wants to be the lore book of intergalactic sex god.
I heard you like to replicate.
Yeah. You can replicate into any shape.
Any?
And last episode he wanted to bang that planet, so you're right.
Yeah.
It's like,
The
what
whole
else will
planet.
he get? What
I
else
love
will
it.
Riker hump?
just wants to bang everything. And that's okay.
I really wanted it for the very last shot, like a really cheap shot of like the Spencer's gift crystal, just dropping into a kiddie pool. Like, okay, you're back, because it just transported it, and I just pictured them like plopping it down and leaving, not fixing any of the destruction they did. Just like, come on, terraformers, let's go.
That crystal is not going to fit in a thin layer of saline or whatever the fuck. That is an outcast from society. That is a martyr now.
At least they're together.
Yeah. Do you want crystalline entities? Because this is how we get them. Literally.
Riker does.
And that was Homesoil. Pretty great, pretty fun. Our next episode is next week, Coming of Age. As Wesley Crusher faces the Starfleet Academy entrance exam, representatives from Starfleet Command conduct an exhaustive investigation into Captain Picard and the Enterprise crew.
I'm excited. Becca, do you think that Starfleet Academy is more like Hogwarts or like, a military academy?
I mean, I'm going to guess military, but Hogwarts is pretty militaristic when you think about it.
We'll see.
They're very corporal in their punishment.
Do we see Starfleet Academy in this next episode?
I don't. Well, we'll see the structure and what the steps are. And I think you're engineering.
It sounds like we're getting like a JAG episode.
Oh. Yeah.
As a wise man once told me, science is magic.
Well, as a wise inorganic life form once called me, ugly water.
Ugly water. 1, 2, 3.
Angry water.
Ugly water.
I said angly water.
Okay, so we all did something different. That works.
Yay!